Right now, Netflix has a short list of shows it thinks you'll click on tonight. That list was built before you opened the app, and it used thousands of signals you never consciously sent. Every click, every pause, every search, every show you scrolled past without watching. Netflix has been watching all of it. Not to spy, to predict. And here's the thing. Netflix is not trying to find your perfect movie. It is not even trying to make you happy. So what is it actually optimizing for? And why do two people in the same house see completely different homepages? And how does the system sometimes seem to know what you want before you do? By the end of this video, you will understand the real system behind every recommendation. And you will never look at your homepage the same way. Let's start with a problem. Not your problem. Netflix's problem. Netflix has roughly 17,000 titles available. 17,000 movies, shows, and documentaries. If you watched one every single day, it would take you 46 years to see them all. That is a lot of choice. And more choice is not always better. Research shows that too many options actually causes people to choose nothing at all. Psychologists call it choice paralysis. For Netflix, it translates directly into lost subscribers. The average Netflix user decides what to watch in under 90 seconds. If they do not find something in that window, they often leave. Netflix has estimated that weak recommendations cost them over $1 billion a year in canceled subscriptions. So the real problem Netflix was solving was never content. It was discovery. How do you help 230 million people, each with different tastes, find what they want to watch tonight? You build a recommendation system, but not a simple one. The first version of Netflix recommendations was basically, because you watched X, try Y. A simple arrow. That worked. For a while. But human taste is far more complicated than a single arrow. Because what Netflix discovered is that people do not even know their own preferences fully. Not consciously. So Netflix stopped asking people what they like. It started watching what they actually do. Every single session, Netflix is collecting a stream of behavioral signals. Let me show you what that actually looks like. You open Netflix. The homepage loads. You spend 11 seconds on one section before scrolling past. 11 seconds. Netflix logged that. You click on a thumbnail. Netflix tracks which thumbnail, not just which show. Because Netflix often shows the same show with 10 different thumbnail versions simultaneously across its users. An action shot for some users. A romantic moment for others. The recognizable actor for others still. Whichever one you click tells Netflix something specific about what grabs your attention. You start watching. Netflix records exactly how far you get. 8 minutes and stopped. Exactly halfway. The very end. Each number carries a different meaning. You pause the show. Netflix registers when you paused, and for how long. A 2-second pause during a funny moment is a different signal from a 5-minute pause before you quit. You rewind. Netflix notes the moment. Something in that scene made you want to see it again. You fast forward. Also data. Are you skipping the intro? Skipping emotional scenes? Skipping dialogue? You search for something but do not actually watch it. That search still tells Netflix something. What you were curious about at that moment. What you scroll past without clicking. What you add to your list but never actually watch. Netflix can learn almost as much from what you do not watch as from what you do. But the behavioral signals go further than the content itself. Netflix tracks the time of day you watch, and it matters more than you might expect. Friday night at midnight is a completely different viewing context from Sunday morning at 9. One suggests unwinding. The other suggests a quiet background watch. Different moods. Different optimal recommendations. Netflix tracks your device. Phone, tablet, laptop, television all produce measurably different viewing patterns. Whether subtitles are on or off. The language of the content you choose. Whether you watch alone or share a profile. Whether you binge an entire season in one weekend or space episodes slowly across months. How quickly you press play on the next episode versus letting autoplay do it for you. Every one of these signals is a small piece of a very large puzzle. And Netflix is assembling that puzzle for 230 million subscribers simultaneously in real time. But collecting this data is honestly the straightforward part. Turning raw behavioral signals into an accurate prediction of what you want to watch next. That is the hard part. And this is still not how Netflix actually makes that prediction. The real prediction happens when Netflix looks across all 230 million users at once. Here is the core idea, and it is simpler than you might think. You are not as unique as you feel when it comes to watching patterns. Somewhere in Netflix's data, there are hundreds of thousands of people whose viewing history looks almost exactly like yours. Same genres, similar pacing preferences, same points where they abandoned shows, same time of day patterns. Netflix calls these groups clusters, and you simultaneously belong to several of them. The key insight: what those similar users watched next, you will very likely enjoy too. This is called collaborative filtering. It does not need to understand why you like something, just that you do. You do not need to be identical to someone else. You just need to be similar enough in the right ways. But collaborative filtering has one weakness. What about brand new content no one has watched yet? For that, Netflix uses a second parallel system: content-based filtering. Every title on Netflix gets automatically tagged: pacing, tone, themes, visual style, cast, narrative structure. Not by people manually labeling them, by machine learning systems that analyze the content directly. These two systems run in parallel and combine their outputs to produce a single ranked list for you. Quick pause. If you enjoy discovering how the invisible systems around you actually work, that is exactly what this channel is built for. Subscribe, and every week we pull back the curtain on another system you use every day without ever thinking about it. Now, back to Netflix. Because even with two systems running, there is still one more layer on top. Even after collaborative and content filtering, Netflix still has thousands of potential titles to show you. So there is a third layer, a ranking model. Its job is to decide what order you see things in. The ranking model asks one question: out of everything we could show this person right now, what goes first? It weighs predicted watch probability, predicted completion rate, time of day, device, recent behavior in this session. And yes, it also considers something like your current state. If you just watched 3 heavy thrillers in a row, the system notices the pattern and starts weighting lighter content slightly higher. Not because it knows how you feel, because your session behavior matches millions of similar sessions where users wanted a change of pace. The homepage you see is the output of all 3 systems, running together every single time you open the app. And it is recalculated fresh every time. What you see Monday evening is not what you saw Sunday morning. Netflix spent over a decade and hundreds of millions of dollars building and refining this infrastructure. But here is where the story shifts. Because Netflix is not just predicting, it is also influencing. Let us start with thumbnails. This is where behavioral psychology and data intersect most visibly. Netflix has demonstrated that the right thumbnail can increase the probability of a click by 20 to 30%. So they do not show the same image to every user. They show the image most likely to work for that specific user. You might see the action sequence. Your partner sees the emotional scene. Your teenager sees the comedic angle. Same show, completely different first impressions, before a single frame has been watched. Netflix runs thousands of thumbnail A/B tests simultaneously across its user base. The winning thumbnail for a given audience segment gets automatically promoted. No human decision needed. Then there is autoplay, the 3-second countdown before the next episode begins. That countdown is not a small design detail. It was the result of systematic testing. Netflix tested different countdown lengths. 3 seconds was the number that maximized continued viewing across the largest share of users. Long enough to feel like you had a choice. Short enough that most people simply let it run. Endless scroll follows the same logic. Netflix removed the need to click to the next page. Every point where you might have paused, considered, and closed the app, the design quietly removes. The row order on your homepage is not random either. It is ranked by predicted engagement. The row Netflix thinks will grab you fastest appears first. You start scrolling from top. All of these choices, thumbnails, autoplay, scroll, row order, work together to keep you engaged. And this brings us to the big twist. Netflix is not optimizing to find you the perfect movie for tonight. It is optimizing for the probability that you will keep watching Netflix. Those two things are related, but they are not the same. A 90-minute documentary that leaves you deeply satisfied and closes the app scores well for you. Less well for Netflix's core metric. A show that hooks you into 3 more episodes tonight may not be your all-time favorite, but it performs better on the metric that matters to the business. That is not a criticism of Netflix. It is simply what happens when you optimize a system at scale for watch time. And it works. Netflix subscribers watch an average of 2 hours per day on the platform. But here is where we need to zoom out. Because Netflix did not invent this idea. They built one of the earliest and most sophisticated versions of something that is now everywhere you look. TikTok's entire product is a recommendation engine. There is no catalog you browse, just an algorithm deciding what comes next. TikTok can categorize a new user's interests within 7 videos. 7. That is roughly 2 minutes of behavior. YouTube's recommendation system accounts for approximately 70% of all watch time on the platform, meaning roughly 7 out of every 10 minutes anyone watches on YouTube was surfaced by an algorithm, not a conscious search. Spotify's Discover Weekly playlist is freshly generated every Monday morning for over 600 million users. It predicts songs you have never heard, from artists you have never searched, that you will probably want to hear. Amazon's recommendation section, customers also bought, drives roughly 35% of all purchases on the platform. 1 in 3 purchases, chosen not by the shopper browsing, but by a system predicting what the shopper would choose. All of these systems share the same underlying structure. Collect behavior, identify patterns, rank options, reduce friction. They differ in what they optimize for and how fast they learn. But the architecture is the same, and they are all getting significantly better continuously. These systems train on billions of new behavioral data points every single day. Every new user action makes the prediction slightly more accurate than it was before, which means the longer you use any of these platforms, the more precisely the system understands your patterns. And the more precisely the system understands you, the more effectively it can predict what you will engage with next. In 2006, Netflix famously offered a $1 million prize to anyone who could improve their algorithm by 10%. Thousands of researchers and engineers competed for 3 years. The winning team improved it by 10.06%. Netflix never actually deployed the winning algorithm. By the time the competition ended, the shift to streaming had made the DVD-era rating data obsolete. But the competition accelerated the entire field of recommendation research by years. Today, the systems running inside these platforms are complex enough that their creators cannot always explain specific predictions. They are trained systems, not rule-based ones. They found patterns humans did not explicitly program. And they are quietly becoming the interface between you and almost everything you consume online. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to, what you buy. All of it increasingly shaped by systems optimizing for one outcome: continued engagement. This is not unique to entertainment. It is becoming the operating system of the internet itself. The question is not whether these systems are good or bad. The question is whether you understand what they are doing. So let's go back to where we started. You open Netflix. A homepage appears. It looks like a simple grid of movies. But behind that grid, before you touched anything, 3 systems ran in sequence. Collaborative filtering matched your history to similar users. Content filtering tagged every potential title. A ranking model ordered the output. The thumbnail you see was selected because the system predicted it would work specifically for you. All of that in the time it took the page to load. The next time Netflix recommends a show, ask yourself one question. Did you choose it, or did the system choose for you?